the heart of these is the value that's represented by the creative thinking and act and production that went into it. And the key question here is, how do we capture that value? How do we ensure that the creator is properly remunerated for the value of their creativity, and then that is made available to the world? Is there a conflict of some kind between what's good for the creator and what's good for the consumers and the audience? I don't think there is a conflict, and the way to resolve that is through a version of copyright. With the advent of digital technology, which makes so much so readily available to so many people, that key issue of the relationship between the creator, the holder of the rights, the investor who helped to produce it in the first place, and the audience, that set of relationships has become much more difficult, can't be frozen in time. We can't simply assume that the copyright ways that we've been familiar with forever should simply stay in place. We need some sort of a new settlement, but that new settlement has to recognize the interests of the creator, the incentivization of the creativity, and the value for the audience.
Does the copyright law allow people flexibility? Well, that's a really good question. It's seen as copyright as being in some way, in some people's minds, as a restrictive measure. Truth is, it's absolutely flexible. For instance, we very often allowed free access, absolutely free access to books or to parts of books. It's a choice of the copyright holder as to how they do it. But in the end, you can only do it with confidence, because copyright is there to protect us.
I mean, the problem with the copyright law as it stands is it is technically illegal to take a CD you've bought and copy it onto your iPod. Now, I don't really think the copyright law should reach that far into consumer usage. You know, I'm interested in when people are exploiting my material for commercial gain. And I think that now, I mean, this has always been the case, by the way, you know, to put it onto other machines as well, on tape machines, your vinyl, you know. But over the years, that's been so important. Now, obviously, with the internet, technology has leapt so far ahead that this is becoming a real issue. Fortunately, the industry is responding by chasing people all the way to their bedrooms and to their computers. You know, we need to be able to have some kind of fair use of copyright. You know, to allow me to send you a song that I really like to recommend to you. To allow you know, a school to use one of my songs without having to pay me. To allow someone to quote me in an academic publication that isn't you know, isn't commercial. You know, we need to really find those. The revolutionary thing about the internet is that it's brought the consumer and the artist so much closer together. Rather than prosecuting kids who are swapping songs, doing P2P, we should be monetising that. We should be working out a way to allow them to still exchange songs, but do it in a way that does generate funds. We're just asking for fair remuneration. We're not asking for the farm. And you know, the industry targets kids while tolerating MySpace. MySpace pays absolutely nothing for its content.
So for me personally, I think if we're genuinely talking about this idea of do we get rid of copyright, I think that would make me actually quite disappointed. Because quite clearly it is ultimately what allows a creator to try and make an effort, should they choose to do so, to try and make a living out of their work. I think is the idea up for discussion that copyright, like everything else in the world, changes, adapts and molds itself. Well, it has done, and it's going to have to keep doing that. And I think it might be a futile attempt. I'm not sure we'll ever get it right, but I think we should give it a damn good try and keep pushing forward.
There are many people in this world who think that all information should be free, that some sort of rights of the consumer to free information. But in our industry, at least, we have a little motto that goes, where information is free, there is very little freedom of information.
Well, in theory, of course, you do have copyright, but back in 1987, when people offer you a contract, they say you've got to assign it all to you, and that's actually exactly what we did to get the gig. And we signed the whole thing. After a little while, the London Daily News went from 5 days to 6 days a week, and they came around to us and said, right, we're going 6 days a week, come on guys, we've got the space for you. And we said, actually, no, you know, it's hard work. And it's actually, you know, 20 years later, we've been able to do things like have some independence, kind of move from paper to paper. We were able to do a stage play, you know, publish the books that we want to publish the way that they, you know, we want them to look.
I think the next big thing is going to be electronic books. When books become cool, you will get kids really reading books. I mean, I published in 1994 the world's first electronic novel with Penguin Books, and it was a clunky device, 2 floppy disks. You get 5 minutes into it and it would crash. Downloading the books is going to be, I think, the future of young generations reading.
The young people that are file sharing all the music, I look upon it as a free form of advertisement rather than an actual infringement on copyright, simply because they're lovers of music, these kids. You know, everybody, young people are, they tend to really swap music between each other's phones. Someone else now knows what your music is and what it sounds like, and I think that's a good thing.
Technology itself is simply the means of achieving something. We also have technology today which makes it perfectly possible for many people, relatively cheaply, to manufacture near-perfect or perfect banknotes. Now, we all know what national governments across the globe would do if we all started doing that. Just because technology brings certain means about to make certain things possible and feasible, it does not justify the act.
I would worry, frankly, about the future of creative content businesses if we cannot, in the digital age, defend copyright from various kinds of piracy. When investors invest in what we call creative content, but film or television, music, games, live events, they're investing in business, they're investing in enterprises, and they expect to see some kind of return from their capital, as if they were investing in any other kind of business. To be honest, I don't think there is any widespread understanding about how value, if you like, commercial value, economic value, is created in the making of DVDs, music, theatre, opera, rock music. Any kind of creative activity requires a lot of investment. It requires a lot of people, not just the artists, but the photographers, the producers, the distributors, all of those technicians, highly skilled technicians that go to help make a creative act, a song, a play, a film, a success. And I don't think people understand where the costs are in that, and they don't understand how extremely expensive it can be to bring those kind of products to market. And we need people to understand that, because if people do understand how expensive it is and how much investment is required to go into it, then I think they will begin to understand that nicking it, because that's essentially what we're talking about in impolite language, is likely to condemn lots of creative enterprises to bankruptcy.